So I want to go ahead and move forward with this work session budget meeting. So I'll call it to order, our budget meeting for this evening, since we have the majority of the council and the chief is here. And that's exactly where we want to start. Oh, I left my book. That's exactly where we want to start, is with the chief. I yield the floor to the chief. You can go ahead and start your presentation, sir.
Rick, can you allow me to share the screen so I can pull up his budget? Thank you.
You ready for me, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
First of all, let me say good evening to all of you. I appreciate you all taking the time to come in that we might have a conversation about the fiscal 2022 budget for the town of Edmonston. I am going to just kind of glaze over some of those small line items. The police department's budget represents 27 line items of proposed spending for the fiscal period, July 1 through June 30th, 2022. The first line I'm just going to talk about briefly is salary expenses for the police department. We proposed in our 2022 budget $493,438, which would encompass all of sworn members as well as civilians working under the umbrella of the police department. The second one is the, I'm not going to break it out unless someone asks a specific question, but I see Rod has put up a breakout of how we arrived at the dollar amount of $493,438. If you have a question, you can just jump in. Line item 6105 is overtime expenses for the department. We have proposed $20,000 for this particular line item. That includes things like special events throughout the fiscal year that we project will cause us to go into overtime spending, including, things like, officers working beyond their regular shift on investigations and other calls for police service. That dollar amount, $20,000. Payroll taxes expenses, you see the amount, $37,748. State retirement, $23,623. Medical life insurance, $114,756. Telephone and communication equipment for the police department, $15,540. And this includes, the computers and other equipment used by the police department. Our WSSC contribution is $350. Our PEPCO contribution is $3,500. Postage contribution, $2,500. Supplies for the police department, $12,000 for this fiscal period. Line item 6231, uniforms for the police department for this fiscal period is $8,000. And as everyone knows, we are in the middle of hiring 3 new police officers who will have to be outfitted. And when we start into this new fiscal period, coats, jackets, long sleeve shirts and pants and other things that they do not have presently, we'll be spending to get all of those folks fully attired during the fiscal period. Training, $3,500, and this includes state required training for each person in the police department, as well as off-site training that officers may sign up to attend during the fiscal period.
Can I ask a quickie question here, Chief?
Yes, ma'am.
So given that we are onboarding so many new officers, I just was curious why the training budget seems less for this year than it even was last year, given that we have so many new officers that we might think we'd be actually spending more on training.
Rod, can you speak to that? Because I don't know what the expenditure was in the previous fiscal year, what it encompassed.
Well, the adopted budget, Hillary, that we did this year was Chief Harris's view of how he was going to train for the year. We've only spent $2,200 of that to date, and in previous we spent a whole lot less than that. I do know that the chief uses a lot of the legit training that doesn't cost anything, that meets a lot of the requirements with the police department, but I don't know what Chief Harris had in mind. I know he was going to bring in some different trainers and different costs associated with that, but obviously we haven't spent that.
So maybe, so the 7,200 might actually be the kind of unusual, like.
Correct.
Okay.
That was his goal of whatever he had in mind, and I Chief Gibson or I would not know what that was.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for the question. Dues, subscriptions, and publications, $1,360 throughout the fiscal period. Contract services, $51,945, and you can see that it is higher than we've had for a long time. But Rod, if I'm not mistaken, this is the Axiom body camera dollars that we project we'll be spending in the fiscal period. Is that right?
Correct. The body cam and the taser stuff.
Okay. All right. General repairs and maintenance.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
If I could ask a question. So it looks like, what's the taser license about? What's that $17,000 line item there?
It's the license fee that was part of that whole taser program that you all approved with the, I think it was the $90-some thousand purchase, and this is all of the fees associated with the licensing per year and the maintenance cost.
I'm sure my memory may not be completely fresh on this, but I don't recall there being a taser component to the body camera piece. I thought that there was a piece of the body, like we contracted services that would ensure that the body camera was activated if a taser or service weapon was used. But other than that, is that what this is? Is this like an add-on because of that particular thing, or otherwise this is unfamiliar to me, and I'm just wanting to know what it is.
Well, Councilmember, I can't totally answer that. I just know that when you all agreed to the upgrade of the taser equipment and the body camera equipment, that was a combination lease that you all approved, that $90-some thousand. This was part of those fees associated with doing that per year to have the body cameras licenses and this isn't the lease purchase payment. This is the maintenance and licensing fees. So the lease purchase payment for the equipment itself is in capital outlay. And this was news to me when I got all the bills and then figured out what each of these items were. I had to contact the company and actually get explanations of each item you see listed here.
I'd appreciate an explanation of what the taser, like what the taser license year 2 payment. I'm sorry, I just do not recall us having a discussion about tasers when we agreed to the body camera upgrade. Mayor, I don't know if you have anything to add.
While you're talking, I just happened to find, I don't know if this is an old one or not, but the lease purchase agreement. So I'm going through it right now. I don't see it on this particular one because I think we went through 2 of them. On this particular one, I don't see it. I just see the body cameras and the cruiser cameras. But I'm going through the body of it right now. Unfortunately, I can't forward it to anyone because I have a hard copy.
Now, I thought we got body cameras and then some additional equipment in the vehicles. And then that technology that anytime, as Sarah said, anytime someone takes their service weapon or taser or whatever out of the holster, that would trigger the camera to come on, there was some kind of mechanism that would detect that.
I believe as part of the getting the new body cameras, they had to get new taser equipment to work with that equipment, and so they got the whole works.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I believe that that does go along with the body camera, what you're referring to, Ms. Chester. And I think you're correct, Mr. Barnes, about the additional purchase, because I guess if my memory serves me, there were some additional parts to the contract that may have come later that I didn't even know about. So, but this taser portion is the license for it to go with the body cam and all of that?
Yes, we pay license fees and we pay maintenance fees on all of it. And so, as you see, I wrote the year because so we would know. Plus, we buy from the same company. We buy storage on the cloud to store the evidence and the videos. I'm sorry, the body camera videos on that storage. So you can see part of it. We're in year 3 of paying for unlimited storage. So we'll have these are 5-year deals typically, and so the lady acknowledged or explained out to me, you know, what the potential cost would be each year for the next 5 years. I mean, that this would be an annual fee for like 5 years. And then that's how I came up with the budgeted numbers. Otherwise, I did not know. These were kind of surprises to me.
I mean, if we're contractually obligated, I don't really know how we would do anything about that, but I am concerned about items that are listed here that I don't, and we spent a lot of time with that body camera contract because it was huge and it was not budgeted for in the prior year. So, you know, we had a robust discussion about it, and this just seems like a new line item that's pretty pricey that's appearing on here. That's, And that just concerns me. That has nothing to do with Chief Gibson. But you know, I just would like to know what this is. Tracy, Mayor, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Is this actually an additional charge?
I'm pulling
Or is
it
this
up.
broken down?
Yeah,
That was included in the contract.
I'm pulling it up. So we have a TASER 60-year 4-payment, or TASER 60 is the model, and it was a 4-year payment, and it was $1,860 a year. So that's the TASER 60-year Axon 1860. Okay. Then we had Fleet 1 to Fleet 2 conversion, evidence.com unlimited storage, unlimited tap payment, year 1 of 5-year contract, year 2 $6,192.00. So that was for evidence storage, and this is all to a company called Axon Enterprises. And so then the next item is, I'm going through this, what the lady went through with me. And I tried to figure out all of this. Okay, and then we had an old unlimited evidence charge of $1,872 that we had, was the final year on, and that was the $1,872 that you see there. Then we had new TASER license and equipment, $12,302 we spent on September 21st, 2020. And then she indicated that going forward, there were some items back order. Year 2 would be $15,476.90 and $1,704. That's where the $17,181 came from. So that is the TASER license and equipment.
Chief, do you know if tasers, are they like very proprietary? And so maybe we would have to buy a particular, I don't know, licensed brand to go with the services that we purchased? Is it possible that that's why or do they look bad? If you use them, you have to get a new one? I don't know.
In 2021, they had merged the body camera technology with the TASER. So if you pull the TASER, it will activate the body camera, and it also sends out a signal.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things that are merged require licensing because it's proprietary.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we had TASER equipment for a year 1 quote, and then a 5-year contract again in year 2 of $11,448 for a body camera. And then I think the last one that she explained to me was what she described as a fleet unlimited tap payment of $6,192. And that's the unlimited storage. And that's what Chief Harris committed to in all of this activity. I don't know if that answers your question, Councilmember Turberville.
Yes, I mean, it explains what it is. It might be useful, Rod, to just put on here that this is TASER license and equipment.
Yes, yeah, I'll add that. That's a good point.
But I was not clear that included in.
I don't know that our chief talked about the TASER equipment very much. He talked more about the body cameras and.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna move on to the next line item. This is line item 6338 fuel. The police department has proposed $15,000 for fuel consumption for the fiscal period. And, you know, it could be a little more, a little less, but we rounded it to 15,000, and we're pretty comfortable with that for this fiscal period.
The county's
again-
terribly, the chief, the county's terribly slow about billing. As you can see, they're way behind.
Right. And we're also going to be using more vehicles more often as of July 1. So that'll, you know, cause that number to, you know, sit where we see it now. So,
Yeah.
And we still, you know, for this previous fiscal year, there's still bills that they have not sent us. Is that right, Rod?
Yes.
County, yes.
Yeah. They're always about 6 months behind.
Right. Okay. The next line item, 6339, vehicle maintenance. We're proposing a dollar amount of $15,000 for vehicle maintenance. And this includes all kinds of things during the fiscal year, like new tires, brakes, front end alignment, and any other, you know, incidental thing that may occur during the fiscal year, like a hose breaks or something that has to be replaced in the engine compartment of the car. So that's where we are. 15,000 is our proposal. Workers' comp, 55,350. You can see we had proposed a similar amount for the last fiscal year, 47,189. But Rob, if you can help me out, I see to year to date, we've only expended 18,000. There's still some
Yeah,
claims that,
right. The bill just came in March for the new policy, and so we've just started paying again March, April, and May. So that'll catch up to the 47,189.
right. Okay. All right. Vehicle insurance, we're proposing $9,000 for the fiscal period. Liability insurance, $10,000 during that time. Legal counsel, $3,500. Auditors, $6,000. Seminars, conferences, and conventions, $3,000 for this period. To date, we haven't spent any on this line item. I have a question, Rod. I'm looking at last year's year to date. Was the police department represented at MML last year or the year before that? Do you know?
Last year was virtual, so nobody did anything, but the year before they were.
I see. Okay. All right. All right.
Typically, the police have Tuesday morning breakfast. The governor attends, and that
Yes.
particular day is devoted to the police. So in the past, the chief has always been at that activity.
Right. Yeah, I've been the last 6 years, so I understand that. Mayor, I have a question while we're going through seminars and conferences. During the last Zoom meeting, did we talk about whether more than 2 representatives from the town would attend MML this year?
No, we did not, because that's the quota, 2 representatives.
We have to, Mayor Gant and Avery.
Okay.
We met their deadline of the of signing up 2 people before
Now,
they opened
Are
up
you
the
asking
registration.
on the basis of the one day for the Chiefs breakfast?
Uh-huh.
Is that what you're doing? Okay. I can,
So-
go ahead.
So I know that there will be, police chiefs represented and, folks carrying the flag on day one and all those kinds of things. As
Mhm.
fate would have it, I scheduled to be in Ocean City during that time. And, I'll be there anyway.
Okay, that's
So,
kind of perfect.
huh?
I said, that's kind of perfect.
That's interesting. So, I mean, if we have to, only 2 individuals from each municipality can actually register. Is that accurate?
Yes, but I think what you're referring to is just a little different because it's just the session. And I think many chiefs will probably do what you're doing, is attend the breakfast, which generally happens. Sometimes they come down for that one day, they might stay one night, but it's the overall conference. Only 2 were able to register based on the CDC standards.
Sure.
They allotted 2 to every town to register by a specific date, and then in April, and then if the allotments weren't full, then they opened the allotment up to anybody that want to get to reach to their 400 number.
Right.
And so I don't know where they ended up being in the end, or if they still have some open slots.
All right, I'll inquire, and then I'll share that information with you, Mayor, as well as Rod,
Okay.
what they may allow. Okay,
I mean, I can check just as well with no problem unless you already have a contact.
we'll work it out, Mayor. I don't want to take up
Okay.
too much time. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I'm at advertising 6610. We've allotted $1,000 for advertising for the police department. Newsletter and printing, our contribution is $1,500. Line item 6730, community events. We have proposed $4,000. And this will be events after July 1, like the police department's National Night Out, Edmonston Town Day, which will be, the next year. And we're going to have a little domestic violence event in October. So we've allotted a couple of dollars to allow us to, be vigilant in those kinds of endeavors. So, and the last one is miscellaneous expenses. We've allotted $5,000 toward miscellaneous expenses. And the total budget proposal for year 21-22 is $919,000. $919,610. And, we're going to try to do a few things this year we haven't done in previous years, like the purchase of some small items that help the police departments do its public safety business. For example, we're ordering what we call tent meters. A lot of folks come through the town and they have on their windows what we call 100% tint. In other words, from outside the vehicle, if you look inside the car, you can't see anybody inside the car. In Maryland, that's a violation of the law. And so with the tent meter, you can stop a vehicle and test the meter to see if somebody is less than 35% light coming into the car. And then you could give them a warning or direct them to a gas station to have the tint come into compliance with Maryland law. So we're going to get 2 of those. And they generally cost about $97 or so. And the way it works is you just sit it over the glass and you count to 3 and it'll show you what percent light comes in through the tint. So we're going to try to get a couple of those. Also, I have proposed the purchase of 2 bicycles. We got some relatively young fellas coming in. I see you. You know, these guys are in their very, very early 30s and one is in his late 20s. And so we're gonna try to pick up some nice bicycles. I went back in our shed and looked at those bicycles and they're at least 13 years old or more. And they're, you know, the frames are kind of rusty and the brakes are rusty. So we're going to make an investment, and these things will allow us to do special details like driving along those bike trails and the levee that goes from Decatur Street over to the park itself. And we're going to give specific times and days when these officers will be in groups on bicycles, as well as other little endeavors along the way. So you can look for that in the very near future. We'll make sure the officers get adequate training and, you know, take all the necessary safety precautions to make sure that these folks have, you know, bicycle helmets and gloves and what they call spurs, things you put the toe of your shoe in to make sure their feet don't slip off the pedals while they're moving forward. So those 2 things are in the budget. We're also going to propose the purchase of 2 LiDAR handheld radar guns. We got a few folks speeding along, you know, Decatur Street and up and down, you know, some of the side streets. And the officers are excited about the training they have to take to become qualified. And LiDAR is more specific than radar. And plus our radar devices that we had are pretty old at this point. And so we're gonna get those, get either 1 or 2 of them, get the folks trained and start running radar in the town as soon as possible. We talked before about the noise meter. We want our noise meter to be in line with what College Park does. Apparently, they are the most active users of the noise meters in Prince George's County. And so we want to get the same instrument they have, as well as the training, because they are doing something every weekend. And we tend not to use it unless it's a, you know, a special event, a party, or something going on between, say, May and September, where somebody's having a late party. But we're going to get the device, we're going to get the training, we're going to get our folks up to speed. And, you know, when a noise issue presents itself, we're going to take the appropriate action. So. And lastly, with respect to proposals, we're proposing during the fiscal year, not necessarily on July 1, but at some point, the purchase through capital outlay of 1 Ford Interceptor SUV to come into the fleet. And then we're going to pull out one of those older cars, that Dodge Charger you guys have seen. That's first, I mean, that's second to go. The first one was that gray SUV with 131,000 miles on it. And we'll use the older cars as strictly for backup in the event car breaks down, is involved in an accident, or goes to the shop for an extended period of time. So we're just trying to plan ahead, and hopefully we'll be able to do a little business. You all know I'm excited about the fact that we've brought in new employees over the past 4 weeks. Officer Van Buren 2 weeks ago. Last Thursday, Officer Ortiz, and hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, Officer Shepard. And, I'm just excited. We'll be fully staffed. We're getting these folks up and trained. We're making sure that those who are training are qualified. And we're just moving forward. And I just want to let you know, most of you probably know, I'm a master trainer, and I've been training now for at least 25 years, police-related matters. And I'll be doing a little training with the guys, things like de-escalation training and use of force training. I've been doing a lot of writing over the last maybe 2 weeks or so. And what I'm going to send to everybody tomorrow is a copy. I've created a PowerPoint presentation for de-escalation training, but I want you to see what the proposed policy looks like. And I'm also going to share it with Sue Ellen, that she might look at it and bless it as we move forward, so that everybody has in their hand what our policies are as it relates to officers using force and also de-escalation processes. So that's something I'm working on as soon as I can. I'm just cleaning it up a little bit, and if I finish it by tomorrow, I'll send it to you, and then we can move forward with that training piece. Other than that, Mayor, I'm looking at my list. I have covered all of those things I wanted to talk about. So if anyone has a question relating to the police department's 2022 budget, I'll entertain them at this time.
Council, any questions or comments for Chief?
We talked a little bit in our last meeting about the new state legislation, the new state bill, and how that would reform, and there might be associated costs. And I wasn't sure if we factored those kind of costs in, whether that's things like more training, more liability insurance, more legal services. I'm not really 100% sure where the costs would come in, but I'm just wondering if we've tried to anticipate that, or if that's something that we're really going to have to wait to do a much deeper dive into the new kind of regulations, and then sort of vision out what it might cost us as far as just sort of doing police business.
Sure. It's something that we've been talking about probably the last week or so. Anything that impacts the town of Edmonston will also impact every police department in the state of Maryland. Generally, if there's training that impacts everybody, the Maryland Police and Correctional Training Commission will sponsor the training at no cost to the police departments. Now, you mentioned legal counsel. Somebody, Sue Ellen, is going to have to scrub what the process would be. I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity to read the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, but it's a set of policies that by law required you to do certain things. Well, as of July 1, each agency will have to create his or her own. And, sometime it may make it just a little more difficult to do our business. And I don't know if it will be an increase in cost just yet, but I do know this: they moved the ability to terminate a probationer without cause. Before, if a person was a probationer, the town or city or county or state could say, we're going to part ways, good luck to you in the future. And that will be the extent of it. But as of July 1, you need cause. And so, you know, that might be, because a lot of folks, you know, are shown the door without any expense to that, you know, particular agency. So we'll see how it goes as we move along. But if I was going to make a judgment about an increased cost,
Right.
I'm sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it might be an increased cost for legal counsel and maybe, you know, I'm just looking at this. It's real tough right now, but liability insurance, legal counsel would be one of those things that might be adversely impacted. But right now it's just too early to tell. And, you know, I'm just looking at what I always consider is that, you know, mid-year, if you had to move some funds around, where would you get the funds from and what would you add to or take away? All those things are in play. So I hope I answered some of your questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Hillary, you read my mind. Those were precisely the questions that I had. And I do wonder if we might want to build in a little bit more on the legal counsel front, because I think that based upon what the chief has said and my understanding of the law, that's where we're going to have to bear some of the brunt. Sorry, I have a small constituent here. And Chief, I'm sure that you're intending to do this, but my understanding is the new law also creates like a new use of force standard.
Yes. And even though the standard might be new language, technically it just gets into it being law that you can't choke a person or do anything that takes away blood to the brain or breath, those kind of things that make it law. So, you know, for example, when I send this use of force proposal to you, you'll see those things already in it. But the difference now is that this legislation becomes law. And so if you do it, it's unlawful and it might subject you to some litigation, which may not have been the case in the past. Somebody makes a complaint, well, you know, during the arrest process, I got choked. And we'll say, okay, and the officer might be, you know, suspended a couple of days. But if it violates the law, then it would be, you know,
right. And I
would
think
be much more intrusive.
So I really think that it would be smart of us to build in some additional funding for legal counsel here, because I think some questions around like indemnification, how much, you know, this is the law now, and so how much of that liability would flow to the town, or would it, you know, all of that are things that we really are going to have to think through. So that would be what I propose,
Right.
or what I'm thinking about.
All right, we can certainly take a look at that. And one of the things that I always talk about is that we're not in this alone. There must be at least 31 municipalities who have a law enforcement agency. And the questions are, well, what are they talking about? And what kind of revenue are they going to dedicate to legal counsel proposing in the event that something happens? You know, so we'll look into that though. We have to.
If I could just comment, I'll just say that those are some very good comments, Ms. Tuberville and Ms. Chester. But just like you said, Chief, in most cases, our legal counsel will have advised many other municipalities, and you know, the answer will be right there at the tip of their tongue. So, you know, that happens a lot of times with contracts anyway, or, you know, certain things, it's already repeated. It's just modeled after your particular municipality. But that was perfect for you to think of, just in case. And maybe we do need to put just a little bit more in there because there'll be so many questions.
Don't forget, Mayor also legit provides us with a wealth of information on those kinds of issues and questions, and they have their HR component that
exactly
that we get included as part of that deal, and so that will be a great resource also.
Does our liability insurance, is that through a private company or through some kind of like a state program?
Our insurance for our property, liability, and vehicles is through the local government insurance trust. And so it's a trust that was formed here in Maryland a number of years ago, and it is for municipalities and a few other entities, like I know the League, Maryland Municipal League is part of it. And that the trust goes out then and markets and buys the insurance that the towns need. And so they're outstanding. It happens to be that our Mayor Gant serves on the board of directors for the local government insurance trust. So they give grants to municipalities. We've received grants for training our police officers. We've gotten grants for our taser equipment purchased from them. But I just set in on the renewal. We get renewed every year in July, and unfortunately, because of as you know, all know, you read the news and hear and see the news, the disasters that have happened across the nation, the horrible incidents with COVID, our insurance rates are going up. So that's why you saw some reflection of that in the budget a little bit. The dollars are more than what we actually paid this year, in some cases 10 or 15% more in that. But they go out and they advise us then, Councilmember Chester, on all kinds of areas, particularly law enforcement. They have a special law enforcement liaison that serves with them. We have a safety compliance officer with them that comes out and inspects and tells us what we need to do in terms of keeping our property and vehicles maintained and eliminating, issues there. And so it's a really great program. I can't say enough good things about it. It's cost effective. As they shop for that insurance for us, and we have liability for you folks through them, the law enforcement liability, we have crime coverage through them, we have our police vehicles, and then our buildings themselves. So have I forgotten anything, Mayor?
No, you've summed it up. Thank you.
Is there a thought that might go up as a result of the change?
Yes, some of the insurance is projected in the review the other day to go up like 15%. And so that's reflected in our budget.
Okay, thanks.
Any more comments? All right. Well, Chief, thank you so very much. The programs that you're initiating are very good. Thanks for looking out for our community. Especially, the other day, someone asked me if we are, he said, did you see all those speeders on Kenilworth Avenue? I said, absolutely. He said, is our police on it? Are they on it? Mm-hmm. I said, they are on it. We just hired some more police officers, and I do believe we will be getting some equipment where we will be able to monitor the speeders on Kenilworth Avenue and throughout the town. He said, excellent, excellent, because I remember when. So it used to be, don't come through Edmonston. So That's a good thing. That's a great investment, especially on Kenilworth, especially. So that's good. Anything else for the chief?
Can I pitch one more thing,
Uh-oh.
Mayor, if you will? I'll be brief.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I received a call from the mayor of the town of Edmonston about one of our residents who a relative couldn't locate or speak to, that was a senior that lives in our town and also suffers from stage 4 cancer. So the mayor asked me, the chief, if he could go by, check on the welfare. And so I went by and knocked on the door several times. Gentleman came to the door. Mayor, what's his name again?
Chuck Schaefer.
Oh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he wasn't feeling well, so he didn't answer the phone. And his relatives, specifically his stepdaughter, was very concerned about his well-being. So I went by, talked with him, made sure he was okay. And if he needed anything, we would, you know, help him out. Also, I asked him if he would be willing for me to sign him up for our Senior Watch Awareness Program. And he said, absolutely. And I said, sir, we'll be checking on you at least twice a week just to make sure you're okay. And if you need anything, while we're moving around, we ride past his house 100 times. Stopping by is no problem at all. And so I shared that information with his stepdaughter who had called. She lives in Baltimore, I believe. And she was very thankful that someone had taken the time to stop by and make sure that he was okay. So, you know, I pitched the program back in January.
Mhm.
And, you know, I got a nice little list from Rod about folks who may be in need. And I was just asking once again, if you folks know of somebody, a neighbor or somebody who's mentioned somebody to you, let me know. We'll put them on a list. And even early on, if they don't sign up, we'll still go by and check on them. We need to know that some of these folks, Mr. Kaufman, 85 years old, lives by himself, has needs for some services. We'll just go by, knock on the door and check on them. I don't think that's too much to ask. So I'm just asking you folks, if you know of someone, you can send me a text message. I'll fill out the form like I did yesterday. I sent a copy to the mayor letting them know that we're going to stop by and we're going to check on them. We're going to make sure that these individuals who may be in need get the you know, assistance that we can supply to them. So just think about the seniors.
Yes. And I know Betsy is pretty close to Mr. Schaefer as well.
Yeah,
You were the next person I was going to call.
well, I had talked to Eric earlier last week and told him I was worried because a couple of days, nothing was moving down there. And I end up marking his tires so I can tell if he's, yeah, at least I know he's moving in and out. And Eric kind of laughed and he said he would look for my mark when he goes by and checks too. So we were kind of checking on him, but letting him, you know, rest at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
He's a
He's a
little
good
stubborn.
guy. He's a
Yeah,
good
he
guy.
is. He really is.
Right. So I have all of his information, so I can call him as well. I can call his stepdaughter and talk to her and see if she says he won't, you know, go into a senior living environment, doesn't want anybody to stay with him. He had a dog for a time, but the dog passed recently. So
Max.
he's there by himself. So we're going to do what we can for him. So,
Yeah.
right.
I appreciate how you handled that yesterday. That was really, that was a great representation of Edmonston. And to fill out the, how quickly you filled out the form, that was excellent. I appreciate that. That's something that we definitely need. So thank you for that program. And we've got to get some more of our seniors on that list. I was just thankful that his daughter, his stepdaughter, was able to just contact us and feel confident because he speaks highly of Edmonston and the council and the staff, of course. Okay, yes, the council and the staff. So, and the mayor. So that was that was really good. I was glad you handled that. So thank you. Did you have anything else?
I can go on and on, but I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you.
Okay, good. No, I don't mean good like that. No, I was just saying, I was saying good because I just wanted to give you a little piece of a kudo because there was a situation where I live that with the renter and the leasee, and it could have gone bad. And you were able to just step in and make the landlord feel so confident in our police department. And that went a long way. He was honored to receive a call from the police chief. You know, it wasn't like you just sent someone by or anything like that. You called him, got the information, and you followed up with him. And believe me, he told me each time. So thank you for that. That goes a long way. So I just wanted to give you that shout out for that.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
And Saturday night, there was an episode on our street where our finest had a car pulled over, eventually towed. But I loved how Sergeant Young was out there, letting the neighbors know everything's okay. You know, people, as soon as you see a light, they go run outside. But it was nicely taken care of. Sergeant talked to everybody that, had questions. And the neighbors that all talked to me said that they loved that, the officers were out there letting them know everything's fine. Every now and then you have to tow a car away, no big deal. So that was nice that the new officers were out there and the sergeant was. Nicely taken care of.
All right, thank you, Bessie, appreciate it.
And my dogs did talk to them quite often.
Super. Okay. So we can move on to Mr. Barnes provided us some updates. And we mentioned as we started some adjustments that we would recommend. And I know that Sarah is back on the line. We had some recommended updates. So Mr. Barnes, do you want to grab those pages and go back through those adjustments that were made? Hi. Yeah, you're like me. Go ahead and unmute.
I'm sorry.
I have headphones in, so she can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
So one of the items we looked at was the seminars, conferences, and conventions in general government. And so we were able to trim it significantly and get it down to a number that I think most of you will be happy with. We lowered the league convention down to 3 people, and we put 2 people for fall conference. We eliminated a clerks conference at international that Avery was potentially going to go to. It happened, but it's not going to occur. And then American Bloom, while we're potentially going to participate, it's virtual, so there was not any cost associated with that. So I believe, I hope Councilmember Turberville, we got that number down to a more controlled number for you, and will help make you feel better.
5 years in the making. I'm really excited. Thank you very much.
And let's see, I'm not sure we changed a lot of anything else in, Chief and I did go over the revenues fairly closely and looked at particularly the police revenues and we're pretty confident with where we ended up putting those. Let's see, I'm going to grab fines. Yeah, fines and flagging. We were at 8,600 at 1 month over mid-year. So we've pretty much just doubled that again for next year. That's our parking tickets. Although they have increased, we do see a significant increase. Red light cameras about the same, went up just a little bit as we anticipate there. And other than that, Councilmember Tuberville had asked about the impact of Burliner changing over to the mobile vending company that he is, and what that would mean to our business personal property tax. And I sent out to you, I hope you all got a listing of all of our personal property taxpayers, and I'm hoping that gave you a little better comfort feeling of how that one seems to drop off and one increases. So we had already kind of projected that we would lose Burliner's money, and so I think we're going to be pretty safe there. We're hitting our targets wonderfully well in that one. And of course, the rec center and interest. We transferred recently the $100,000 to our reserve fund, so it's up to $735,000. And I contacted them to talk about what the impact of COVID had been on the interest, and they said it had been significant. And so he gave me some information, and I'll get that out to you so you can kind of just look at it not only from our town's aspect, but from your own personal side of what's that is impacted by the COVID. We did get our first inquiry for those old timers on council this week about small cell phone towers in street right-of-ways. So we will be working. We don't have an application. If you remember, you passed a very extensive ordinance, and so we've got the requirements in place. We just don't have an application. And Mayor Gant, Sue Ellen suggested that we may need to get PGCMA involved and to see if we can't get the county attorney's office to potentially help us, the small cities in that particular arena, because we can, the good thing is we can hire a company to evaluate the proposals and charge that cost to that applicant. So that's a really good thing, but we need to get a process in place. And she said there's been some discussion with the smaller cities in the county. So more to follow on that that particular issue.
Yeah, there has been some extensive discussion about that, and I know the county is involved with that. So yeah, I'll just have to refresh everything because it's been a little while. So I'll refresh it in my mind.
Okay, good.
We'll follow up.
We had a really successful cleanup day on Saturday.
Mr. Barnes, I wanted to ask real quick before you go forward. I know we talked about our, and this is for you and the chief, we talked about the electronic sign, and we saw, I saw where they would potentially be. And one of the things that you talked about, Mr. Barnes, was going after a grant for it, so we wouldn't necessarily have to pay for it. But if we can't fund it via a grant, would we split it in between the police department and government, or what?
No,
how would we fund it?
It's a capital item. We just take it out of one of the other.
Expense.
Yeah, one of the other.
All right.
I have a quote coming. The company that did Cottage Cities, they're doing Colmar Manors. They did a big state contract, so we can use the state contract potentially to buy. And I was hoping to have the quotes back today. They looked at the one out front here, and then they looked at the Sunoco. Sunoco would be one side, the one out here would be double-sided, so you would see the digital from each side. And at the same time that they, Mr. Curley was looking at the digital part of it, they would upgrade the structure. We have the wrong seal out here. We don't have the right police department seal on the sign out front of town hall. So I'm hoping to have that by next week for sure and give you a better idea of what that cost might be. We may want to just cut back to, doing it in a phased approach. I haven't found a grant yet. We tried our legacy grant and that didn't work. And so I haven't found one yet that works, but we want to try to get that in place. Chief Gibson, we want to get it in place this year if we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you were getting ready to
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of
dumpster there.
other things that we changed. We got everything as in line as we could. Betsy noted I had the wrong anniversary date for the chief, so I'm going to fix that right now while we're right there. Somehow.
Who picked that up, Ron?
Betsy.
Betsy. All right.
I appreciate that. I look at these and I start not seeing everything. So just to go to the summary page and just show you what our budget is looking like overall, it's $2.5 million for the proposed amount. And you can see in some areas we've gone down, some areas we went up a little. Grants are staying fairly stable. I started to tell you about Avery's wonderful, wonderful hand-in program. If you haven't been down 46th Avenue, drive down there. You'll be thrilled to see trash cans, some beautiful planters with flowers, and no trash. I don't know how many bags we got on Saturday, but we had about 23 volunteers. The Bladensburg High School ROTC. Colonel Peterson sent us a group, and we had some local folks, we had some businesses, we had our mayor and council member Hillary Chester there, and it was a great day, a great event for our town, and it's just one more thing we're doing to make the town look beautiful and attractive.
It looks great.
Thanks, Betsy, appreciate that. So we are using carryover money as we have been doing for the past few years to balance the budget, and that as of right now, I think we have about $600,000 in the bank in our operating fund. We anticipate obviously going forward with a large portion of that as our big thing that's coming in right now is our business licenses, and they're pouring in fairly fast. So the cash flow is staying up fairly good right now, along with some business, personal property tax. So don't anticipate any problems going into the new year and getting to our big tax distribution in October. I would just caution that we still need to, one of our priorities when you, and this will lead Mayor into May 15, 16, one of the discussions you need to have is new revenue sources. If we're not going to raise taxes, which I know obviously we don't want to do that, our revenues are staying really flat. And so we, as you can see, actual year 2018-19 was 1.6, actual year 19-20, 1.6. We adopted a budget of 1.7 this year, so they're going to go up a little bit, but we're proposing 1.7 again next year. So our actual revenue items are just not growing a lot. We grow grants, as you can see across that line, 110,000 up to 620,000. We love that. We love getting a hold of other people's money that helps us, but you can't always count on that. And so we really need to think about revenue sources. And I know one of the things we'll talk about is potential annexation too. So Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions. This is what will be proposed on May 12th. No tax, the key is no tax increase. If public asks, no tax increase, fully funded police department, all all hired, all
Ms. Chester, did you have any questions? You good?
No, I was just musing.
No. No, Mr. Barnes, that was
Yeah.
good presentation. Thank you for those adjustments. And also thanks to Ms. Avery and yourself for the hand-in cleanup day in Edmonston, which was a success.
Mhm.
And I just love the planters. That connection was superb. And it was a perfect day for that. And just thank you, because you guys did work pretty hard. You went to the store a couple of times. You guys did a whole lot.
It was a fun time.
Yeah,
So,
and you like your hands in the dirt.
yeah. Mayor, that leads into the strategic planning session.
Yeah, so we've met with our facilitator for our strategic planning session, which will be May the 15th and the 16th. That's a Saturday as well as a Sunday, which will include Mr. Barnes as well as Chief Gibson. So mark your calendars. We talked about this. Right now, we have the time of starting at 9:30 on Saturday. And we did not secure time for Sunday. The question is, or let me first put this out. It is best that we meet in the building. Whether we meet 2 days or 1 day in the building, it's better for our facilitator if we meet in the building, especially on day one, just because there's some, sort of kind of activity or it's just a good idea to meet in the building. But I want to ensure that everyone feels comfortable in meeting inside of the building, us on that Saturday and or Sunday.
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
It tends to be less distraction, but we still are in, the pandemic phase. And so just give me your feedback so that we can take that back to our facilitator so he can make whatever adjustments he needs to make. He can prepare properly. How about that? I would at least, if you feel kind of, or if your schedule is, and we're paying him good money. I would at least consider 1 day in the building. I think it's really a good idea, if not both days. If you want to, you can email Mr. Barnes after you think about it a little bit. Email him, text him, let him know, and he'll reach out to Donzel Washington.
Robinson.
I'm sorry. Donzel Robinson. I'm sorry. Yeah. And he's really given us a fantastic price. And he is awesome. So, and also he will be reaching out to each of you. So I think Mr. Barnes sent you an email already. Did you send the email?
I did.
Yes.
Okay. He's already sent out the email. And that's just to help when we all eventually get together on the 15th and 16th. Okay. And you can also, when you email Mr. Barnes, please let him know the best time to start on Sunday for you. The best time to start. Okay. So just email him your preference, whether you'd like to do Zoom or in person, and also let him know the time for Sunday. The time for Saturday is already set.
It's approximately 4 hours sessions each day.
Yes. Okay, guys.
Sounds good.
Woo, 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 woo. Finally, yay. Yay. And so we'll all take part in that. Anything else with the strategic planning session, Mr. Barnes?
No, you covered everything. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. For some reason I have bids down here, but I don't think that's anything. I think that's for next week.
Oh, we have audit bids for the council meeting.
Yeah, that's why I said I think that was just for next week. I don't know why I wrote it down,
Okay.
but that's really all I have, unless anyone else has something else. You wanted to review do we need to, well, you did the overview of the budget, right?
Yes,
Well, yeah.
that's this page.
Yep. So is there anything else that anybody has? If not, we can move to adjourn this work session budget meeting. I'll accept the motion.
I'll make it.
Thank you so much. And is there a second?
I will second the motion.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, fabulous. Everyone, go ahead and have a great evening.
Yeah, good night.
Too late.